We're back, ladies and gentlemen, and a very quick break that time. I like it. I like it a lot. Evil Geniuses and the Rising Taquitos. I know it's a repeat performance here from the Taquitos, but the Party Foul and Haas are going to actually be taking over the Cloud9 Vortex up against, I still suspect, Happy Fairy Dragons, but a little bit of delay there. So we're going to jump into this one. It is quarterfinals. Evil Geniuses, the big dogs, they're in the majors. They have a proven track record, and they got some big names to boot. Can they take on the Rising Taquitos and their legendary Vikings? We're going to have to find out, Shane.
The name Rising Taquitos is both a literary, figurative, metaphorical, and literal term right now, guys, because not only are they metaphorically rising, the Rising Taquitos, but literally they are rising up in the scene right now, Sean. They have been playing very well from what I have heard, and now after seeing them play, I'm a believer. They were playing very well. They were playing with the team that usually, I think, beyond their years. They were playing like a team beyond their years. I feel like they were kind of showing a little bit more experience and whatnot. You know what I mean? So I'm really looking forward to them facing up against one of the well-known top teams. Even though EG's success, or EG's kind of been up and down. They're definitely hit and miss, I feel like. A couple weeks ago, they won the ESL Go4Heroes. A couple weeks ago, they almost won. They should have won up against Temple Storm. It was a game 3, and they ended up actually, unfortunately, I mean, there's no other way to put it. LZ Gamer actually just outright said it. They threw the match.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that was with you. Yeah, was that ESL? It was
one of the ESLs, yeah.
It was one of the ESLs. They ended up winning one, and then the next week they should have won, but they ended up not, unfortunately. And then ever since then, I feel like they've been stuck in a little bit of a rut because they were knocked out of Titan Arena last night fairly early, which is unfortunate because that was a very big tournament. I helped administer with that, so that was fun. So hopefully we'll see them get back on their feet and rise to that expectation that we expect to see out of a team like Evil Geniuses.
Well, speaking of, draft is underway. I got the bans here on the screen, but Azmodan into Stitches, so no stacking Q build here, Evil Geniuses, but there is no Viking ban, so EG either to steal it or does not really care too much. Taquitos then go for the first big Vala, a great backliner to go with their typical strategy, and the double support pickup here with the Tassadar and the Uther. There's no Illidan ban or pick as of yet. I don't really see it fitting in the Taco style, but if they're not going to deny it, then they have to take out a Rhaegar, like, right now.
Yeah, if they don't pick an Illidan right here, then Evil Geniuses is probably going to go... they could go double healer Rhaegar into Illidan. They could go Illidan with ETC. Okay, so the Rising Tacos are going to pick up Rhaegar. So they are at least denying that double healer strategy with Illidan. But there's still the potential for them to pick up an Illidan here nonetheless. And that would be very threatening because Illidan usually needs some help from other heroes, specific heroes. And those ones specifically being either as a healing support, Uther or Rhaegar, or having a Tassadar shields to help mitigate damage. And he has both of those right now. So Evil Geniuses is in a great spot to pick up Illidan and use him to great effect. I will say that Evil Geniuses runs Jaina more than any other team, I feel like, and they've had varying levels of success, but Dragonshire I actually feel like is the map that they had the most success playing Jaina. So that's definitely something as the draft progresses and we see a little bit more come into play here. I won't be surprised if Evil Geniuses picks up Jaina if they feel the opportunity is there.
Now, there is an early game strat that I've been seeing these last few days as well with the Tyrande Roam and the Jaina Roam to go with it. It absolutely murders people that get caught out. The stun into Hunter's Mark and the triple spell unload from the Jaina has absolutely been a thing. You are right. Evil Geniuses has been running the Jaina regardless. Bam! Mr. Prophet right here. ETC followed up very closely by that Jaina. It is still a likely, I want to say, a Illidan to go with this, but they got their backliner. And on Dragonshire, we could actually not see a party lane here. There is no Sergeant Hammer on the floor, but we could also see that roam. Now, if it's not a roam, I still think we set ourselves up some really good lanes because we got the healing ward from the Tassadar. He's going to be able to solo out a lane by himself. Uther to support the party if it is going to be that ETC into the top. But what is the Tacos, what are they going to be able to do here? They need a frontliner, and they're very likely to take their Vikings. And, well,
there it is.
There they are. But this is not the frontliner I would have actually guessed.
I have a feeling this Tyrael is in direct response to that Jaina, Sean. Because Jaina, what makes any Jaina player just shriek and shrivel up in fear is hard initiation, hard dive. Initially, I was going to say maybe they could get the Illidan, but look at that. Illidan and Hammer both completely being foregone by both of these teams. I feel like both of these teams could have picked up Illidan or Hammer. Would have fit really, really well. But Evil Geniuses is a team to draft a little bit differently than the meta. They usually have, the core big heroes like we see in Uther and a ETC and Tassadar. But I feel like whenever they have their damage dealers, they actually pick rather unorthodox damage dealers sometimes, and that's exactly what they're doing here with Jaina and a Zagara. They could have picked up a Hammer, they could have picked up an Illidan. They had a great lineup to pick up an Illidan, I feel like, but that's not what they're going to do. They're going with something a little bit different, and I absolutely love it. On the other side of the coin, their name is Rising Tacos, but it should be Taquitos, shouldn't it? On the other side of the coin, they have a little bit of an unorthodox draft as well.
Well, yes, as we said, with that Tyrael, he has really fallen off, especially as a solo tanker. And, Stitches was the ban, ETC was the pick, Mirrodin, Arthas, Anubarak, like a lot of these other, if they're looking for those control comps, definitely would have, I think, filled that slot a bit better. But if you also take a look, Tyrande with the heals, Rhaegar with the heals, it's going to be as well shielding. The shielding capacity, very likely to see some shielding talents picked up here from the tier. I suspect he's going to be focusing more on just that aspect. And then, of course, the judgment could also be a sanctification. I mean, it's few and far between, but we do see them.
It could be a sanctification. I don't know how it would pan out too well. I mean, because usually when we saw sanctification strats, which we did see, actually, the old 2-arc brought out a sanctification strategy. But usually it was tied in with Uther, and they would I coined it the ghost strategy, where they would just go in there and Uther would go with the ghost talents, and it was actually a pretty wonky strategy that had varying levels of success.
Sure.
Yeah, they actually almost beat Symbiote when they were known, Tempo Storm, back then known as Symbiote Gaming. They almost beat him with it. It was a very effective tool. I don't see how it would be played into this particular match. I feel like Judgment is definitely the shoe-in for the heroic for them right now, because they're going to be able to really make Jaina's life a living hell with that initiation, a Judgment into a Lunar Flare, and the follow-up with the Lost Vikings in the background in a boat, Vala either going multi-shot or single-target build. More than likely, we're going to see a multi-shot strafe build out of her, and that will be just a really strong initiation to hopefully burst down that Jaina. On the other side of the coin, though, Uther is a phenomenal burst healer. Tassadar is great at mitigating damage with his shields. So it's definitely going to be a pretty big fight here over can they deal with the solid initiation single-target burst. They definitely do have the tools, especially when you follow it up with the potential displacement and counter initiation of a Zagara's Devouring Maw. We're going to figure out all this stuff we're talking about here in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. The map is loaded up. The boys in blue on the left side of your map, Evil Geniuses. Faye is going to be playing that Zagara. It's going to be ZP on the ETC. So a lot of acronyms coming out of there. ZP, ETC. Kawaii Rice playing Uther, LZ Gamer playing Tassadar, and Idra playing the Jaina.
Now, on the flip side, this is a repeat team for today, but very handy-dandy win in round number 1. Solo Nazgul to be soloing the top. Horsepants with his Vikings to be here in the mid, and Mistakes, Hans, and Mudbutt are going to be holding down the party lane. So, once more, I'm a little concerned now with the Tacos because of their solo tank capacity. They only got that Tyrael out there, and we have a heck of a lot of zone control coming out from Evil Geniuses. And EG are going to go with the old school 4-man stack here in the mid. They're going to clear it out and then look for the gank bottom. And bottom lane's going to have to be, aware of this, and they are. They're going to be in enough position to, probably get out of this one. But here comes the CC lockup on top of Hans. Only does bring him down to half. Faye is going to be sorting out the top against the Tyrael. That should actually favor the Zagara, but same time, Tyrael, I mean, he's still a very godlike laner. Just doesn't quite pack that punch past 10 anymore.
So I like what Evil Genius is doing here. Their wave clear is absolutely absurd. Olaf is actually going to get taken out there from the Tyrael, but that's not a big deal. I mean, it's only a quarter of a kill, so that's not going to yield any big results. But they have an absurd amount of wave clear in the Jaina and Tassadar respectively, and you can tell they know it and they're utilizing it appropriately. There's 4-man roaming up mid to top, mid to bottom, mid to top, mid to bottom. And I actually like this specifically to the Lost Vikings, because that's going to make the Lost Vikings player feel really scared to go out and soak experience. You know that you have 4 people at any point in time are just going to show up in your lane and kill you. So I actually feel like not only is it a great tool just on its own, but compounded by the fact that it's really going to help deal with the Lost Viking factor substantially.
Yeah, absolutely. And that 4-man roam is a huge amount of lockup, and the lockup is exactly what you need. Look at this. Bud right there on top of him. The power slide stun and the triple unload coming out from Idra. It's absolutely terrifying. And, this is a very small map. Going from lane to lane to lane is not really too much effort going back and forth. Top is now going to go our way. Mid is going to be the pressure here. Idra's looking to become this early Dragon. Kawhi Rice, unfortunately, just cannot seem to keep these Vikings at bay, but the Vikings now get collapsed upon, and that's a double kill. Another half being added here to Idra and crew, and that would be the Dragon on top of it, Shane.
Bottom lane, Taquitos almost denied that Dragon. That line was right on the middle line on the Shrine, but just unfortunately a little bit too late. The last time we saw the Taquitos with the Lost Vikings was just 2 matches ago, and I was saying how the Lost Vikings pick was utilized in such great fashion. They played to it accordingly, and it went completely unpunished. And Evil Geniuses, they have an answer for this Lost Viking, and as I mentioned before, you can tell, because look at the experience discrepancy already. It's not like we've seen a lot of kills. We've only seen about 2 kills, a kill and a half. Yeah, it's something like about 2 kills. And towers are just now going down, but prior to those towers going down, they had well over a level of experience just 3 minutes into the game. Usually when you see an experience discrepancy and there's a Lost Vikings on the field, it's in the favor of the Lost Vikings. And no, on the contrary, it's actually Evil Geniuses who are taking the experience lead here. So you can tell they're well equipped to deal with the Lost Vikings and have been playing very well as Olaf goes down into the bottom lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once you kind of figure out how to play against the Vikings, the 4-man roam has been working out really well. We didn't lose out any experience because it's such short travel time between the lanes. You clear it out, you move on, and you got yourself a little bit of a breather there. EG is going to be going for these Siege Giants, and there's really not much the 2 levels down team of the Taquitos can do about it. Now again, here comes the roam. It's going to be stuns and stuns for days, and there goes Baylog. Eric will hoof it out of there, but this is starting to really add up. And it's not the quarter kills that are adding up. It's the lack of experience now being soaked up. That is the bigger factor. Every time you kill one of those Vikings that's soloing a lane, yes, you get that quarter kill, but the bigger thing is now nobody is soaking. And playing the Vikings from behind is a very painful experience.
Yes. Lost Vikings is not a hero that you want to be behind it, especially going into level 10. Because that's kind of what the Lost Vikings niche is they give you an experience advantage, so you guys hit the big mid-tier talents quickly, obviously level 10 and 13 respectively. And then from there, the Lost Vikings I almost said longboat, the longboat, that's what's called, right? Is a substantial mid-game tool that just scales so well and does an absurd amount of damage. Top lane here, Faye, more than likely going to be going down, so finally, Taquitos is going to get that goose egg taken away from their name, get themselves on the board, but the damage has already been done. I mean, 2 levels up, almost entirely to a little bit less than that, but that is an incredible testament to how well Evil Geniuses have been playing in the early game here. But back to my point real quick, how you cannot be behind with Lost Vikings, that's because it's just, that's the linchpin of playing Lost Vikings, is you get an experience advantage, and you get that really powerful mid-game tool, and it kind of snowball from there. When it doesn't pan out like that, then it's so hard to come back from this type of discrepancy.
Well, we had the counter push here from the Taquitos into the top after they got themselves that kill on top of Faye, but we're still not 10, and the Taquitos know that. They are fully backing. They are getting themselves a little bit now of health, hitting the fountains. We do got Horse Pants trying to soak out the mid a bit. 10 is now achieved, and in terms of the ults going back and forth, I mean, the heroics are pretty much on point. Nobody really different. Now, you did try to call strafe a little bit earlier, but I didn't see it in the cards, and it will actually be the range to go with the multi-shot. You just need the extra amount of lockup so that the Viking ship can do its work. This could be our first final fight because second Dragon Knight's on the board. LZ is going to be the big guy in the Dragon, but ZP's is going to be the Mosh, and there goes Rhaegar. That's a big chunk of healing now out here for the Taquitos. That was the longboat. No, we're still looking for the longboat as the Vikings were just trying to put out as much pressure as they could. It's going to be a stun there on top of Kawhi, and well, overall, the 1 kill going back and forth, but the Taquitos did rally and defend, and I have to double check. Is that actually? No, they didn't use the longboat. What were they doing behind, like, the ETC and stuff?
I'm not entirely sure. It was well played by Evil Geniuses, a good, initiation there, but unfortunately just didn't follow through with them there. It didn't really follow through the way they wanted it to. But I'm not sure why the longboat wasn't used there. Maybe they were calling a retreat, let's just mitigate the damage that's being done and fall back and save our heroics for a better time. I mean, Longboat's a very short cooldown. It's only, I mean, it's not very short, but it's a pretty short cooldown of 90 seconds. It's not like it's 120 or any really, really big cooldown. So it would be up, again, for them to have a good opportunity to get a good initiation that they're looking for. So not entirely sure what the thinking was there, but obviously up here in the top lane, 5v5, Evil Genius is pushing in with the Bruiser camp that they were able to snap up real quick after pushing in that mid lane. They are not going to overcommit here. Evil Geniuses is a team that the name of the game for Evil Geniuses, at least the new Evil Geniuses since ZP has been added to their roster, is smart and efficient play, no overextensions, you know, calculated risks with aggression. They don't go headlong into fights. Every now and then when they feel like it might end in their favor, they will make some big aggressive moves. Otherwise, you very rarely see heavy aggressive rotations unless they have some other factor going for them. And that's really more than likely what they're going to be doing throughout this match and what they have been doing up until this point. Now they're level 13 and the talents are coming up.
Yeah, a level and a half still between them. They were very patient on that ambush, but Olaf just peeking out a little bit too far. And then, of course, they did punish him with a kill. And look at that, 3.5 kills to 1. It seems like so much more at this point, but ZPs and the lockup here from Kawhi Rice. There goes the Ancestral Healing on top of Solo Nazgul, but the contest here at the Siege is just not going to be enough, and a really nice devouring there from Faye as well, locking up 3 members of the Taquitos. They're able to clean up the mercs in short order, but at the same time, that was also then a maw here from Fate, and I guess Solo Nazgul is saying, all right, we can do this, guys. They're going to go in. Small spaces actually could be really good here, but ZPs with the 2-man catch on the Mosh Pit. They are going to take down not only the Tyrael, but the Rhaegar yet again. That's not going to be heals here for the team on the Taquitos. We do got the boat out, but it's just not going to be the burst that they're looking for. Instead, we're going to be trying to chase down the Jaina, and they get the Jaina, but off screen, the rest of the Taquitos are now dead in the water, and this could be an ace. The turret is going to take home Eric, and Horseman will complete the 7-man wipe, and that's likely a Dragon too.
Evil Geniuses picking up the handful, getting all 5 team members of Rising Taquitos. That was a awesome team fight right there. Just there's so many cool things that happened in it. Specifically, I learned something new today, Sean. Mosh Pit does not affect the longboat raid of Lost Vikings. He was flying right into the Mosh Pit.
Yeah. The only thing I so far that hit it is Zeratul. Zeratul Void Prison is the only thing to stop it. Because it freezes time.
That was, I feel like that's one of the big reasons why that team fight in the early part of it actually started to go their way. They were able to take out ZP before too much damage was done. But obviously, Evil Geniuses just picked themselves back up off the ground, even though they were kind of on the back foot initially on that team fight, and able to clean it up. And they were able to get themselves a Dragon Knight out of that. They're on the cusp of level 16, so they're once again going to be a talent level ahead, substantially so, as well as they're almost 3 levels ahead right now. That's going to give them a very long window of opportunity, probably up until yet another Dragon Knight phase comes into play. And they are looking good, and as I mentioned, they're not making any big aggressive rotations. The one real big aggressive rotation they made was that bottom siege camp, which happened right before the most recent team fight. But again, they didn't overcommit to it. Faye landed a great maw onto 2 of the 3 Vikings and another player as well. They're able to get the siege ogres, and then they backed out. Even though they saw a great maw and they saw that there was so many on there, more amateur teams would have been like, oh man, their eyes would have gotten bigger than their stomach. They thought, this is a great maw, we can initiate onto this. Evil Geniuses knows better than that. They know better than to fight in that very small choke point that was there. They went back and they fell back, and obviously are now still in a great position. So once again, just very concentrated surgical precision play out of them.
Now, they did actually have the Dragon Knight during all that. They took some turrets that got them to level 16. The talents are there and they're real. The double Hydralisk coming out, the vulnerability for the Northern Exposure from Jaina. This is the more popular build that EG has been running with it. But imposing presence, as well as the Holy Shock. EG is still really the only team I've ever seen pick up Holy Shock to a huge degree. But hey, extra burst is extra burst. All ults are up except the Starfall, because it just was used defensively. But that is still not enough here to deny these Bruisers, and Bruisers now going to be heading up top. Evil Genius is looking to take this fort, and the Taquitos thinking, yeah, maybe we're going to engage. Tyrael's going to think about it. He gets in there, but ZPs, he's looking for that mosh. You know he's going to be coming out looking and swinging for that backline.
He's got to be careful, though, because every single one of those heroics is up for Evil Geniuses. Not the same for Taquitos. There is an initiate on injury in the backline, but Nazgul doesn't have his teammates nearby. The Ancestral Healing simply not there. Amaw taking out the backline of the Taquitos, and by backline I mean absolutely no one, but it was still there nonetheless. So Ancestral Healing is on cooldown. The gas tank is empty. for the Taquitos. They have been flattened by the Evil Geniuses here. This is definitely going to be going their way. They got to be careful here. They're really overextended underneath the fort here. Olaf does get taken down, and it looks like they are going to be able to clean this up pretty well. Kawaii Rice potentially going down. Nope, he's going to go down. Protective Shield is going to mitigate the Starfall damage. And once again, Evil Geniuses got that top fort, followed up with a great team fight, and now the Shrines are up at level 10. And this is looking real good for them.
Now, on the back of all of these fights, these last 3 fights, it's been an EG victory, and then it's almost immediately right into these shrines. And that has been very devastating for the Taquitos, because then they all have to respawn, and they're not really able to put up enough map pressure to contest these shrines, and that has led us into Dragon Knight after Dragon Knight. Yep. That does not seem to actually be a broken pattern. On the back of this one, you can see Idra, he's going to be heading top, he's looking for it. Faye already has the bottom, and we're just not going to have the map positioning really to contest this now that we have some of these Stone Bros on the floor, the siege camps. So you're looking for another one. LZ is about to get it. Yeah, the owl too little too late. And again, Evil Geniuses, they've kept this experience lead. They are now 3 levels up Shane Gucher, and they're looking for a keep. They are really looking for a keep.
They definitely have the momentum. The winds are blowing on their back right now, Sean, going into this bottom lane. They have the Dragon Knight at 13 minutes. They have the level 16 talent. I mean, Taquitos is really not close to level 16 whatsoever. It's a great opportunity for them to get a keep and potentially look for a team fight here, because if Taquitos gets caught out of position and they lose any more than 2 members, that could just absolutely be the game. But I mean, they're doing a pretty good job here dealing with this Dragon Knight. The keep is still at a substantial amount of HP. It's at a quarter HP, and the Dragon Knight was already killed, so they focused down the Dragon Knight. And what I was talking about earlier, how Evil Geniuses doesn't overcommit, that might have been a little bit of a misplay there. They should have maybe committed a little bit more on that keep. I definitely felt like they could have pushed their advantage right there with level 16 with the Dragon Knight, but they're playing very, very defensive here, so they're not going to make any heavy aggression rotations as we expect out of them. They're just slowly but surely sieging this bottom keep, and now that it's down, they're probably going to retreat here, fall back to the mercenary camps, and continue to domineer themselves across the map.
Yeah, we got a clairvoyance actually for that bottom bruisers, but EG's just faked him out a little bit, said nope, not going that way. So right now the Taquitos don't really have on paper where they are, but of course with that capture it's very obvious indeed. Out goes the Owl again, level 13, looking at the lunar blades here from Tyrande. Now 16 actually could go either way, because we did go for the Pierce with that Sentinel. It could actually be a level 16 Owl on top of that. We're gonna have to see which way Taquitos really want to swing for that, but all heroics now up for this next team fight, and it looks like Evil Geniuses is content just to sit on their laurels for now and wait for some of this merc pressure to bring a beat to Honey. And it looks like they're going to catch up to Nazgul. He is dead in the water, and he will just kind of uselessly blow up a little bit there. And 5-on-4 pressure. We're going to be looking at shrines in the next 30 seconds or so as well, Shane.
Look at you. Holy crap. You literally nailed it on the dot with those shrines, Sean. You have an inner clock, and it is in time, my man. So that was a good rotation. They noticed that Nazgul was completely by himself. The rest of the team separated up in mid lane. They both were showing on the map, killing the creeps. And that's what I meant by when Evil Geniuses does make aggressive rotations, they're calculated. They're not just kind of mindless, hey, I feel like we might be able to do this. They knew they were able to get the kill on him because Nazgul was out of position and separated from the rest of his team. And now this, once again, these little, pickoffs and small rotations, like I said, surgical precision, just kind of chewing them apart bit by bit, is going to translate into a nearly 16-minute Dragon Knight, but not only a level 16 Dragon Knight, Sean, more importantly, level 20 talents. Looking at what Evil Geniuses gets at level 20, they get Bolt of the Storm for ETC, which makes his presence even more of a threat. Obviously, Uther can get either Stormbolt or the Divine Hurricane. Up here in mid lanes, they are going in for a team fight, but right now I feel like this is just a desperation team fight. They know if they don't do something to do something quick, the game is going to get out of hand. So far, okay, there's actually a good turnaround. ZP does go down, Quiet Rice is getting low, but they have to finish him off. Protective Shield followed up with the Taskner Shield is going to keep him alive for the moment. Inevitably, it does go down, a 2-for-1 exchange. Vala is going to get taken out here, though. Jaina going down, so right now, this is actually looking pretty okay for him. LZ Gamer, his Dimensional Shift is on cooldown. It is not, it is not on cooldown, so he's going to be able to use it twice and get away. So a 2-for-3 exchange. Finally, something going the way of Rising Taquitos here, but they are still nowhere near level 20. They will be able to keep Evil Geniuses off the dragon unless they don't. And Faye gets the Dragon Knight nonetheless. So even this is a strong Dragon Knight. Even though Evil Geniuses is down a team member and Rising Taquitos has someone of a power play, it's going to be completely mitigated by this Dragon Knight being picked up.
So that was just almost crashing right into the EG front. I'm not entirely too sure EG was really prepared for that kind of pressure coming out from the Taquitos, because they definitely took the kills. 3 kills for only 1, not even losing a Viking on the end of it there. You saw Idra actually get chased down by Eric the Swift by the end of it all. So level 20 is out, the Dragon is out. Faye literally just taking it to deny them the pick because they're not going to have the map pressure, and EG knew that they were about to lose out those shrines if a lot more time had passed out. So they're not looking to get really a lot with it done. They got 30 seconds left, so they might be able to pressure the mid keep a little bit, or maybe even just take down the fountain. But the timer is really just not going to be in their ball. It's not going to be in their ball court for that. That's kind of what I wanted to say there. Double 20 though, triple blink, as you were talking about. That's some interesting positioning, but we're not going to see a mosh for another 10, so I think EG is just going to try to bide their time. But this whole Nazgul, he's saying nope, just going to go right in, judgmenting on top of the Jaina, forcing out that blink already. We got some healing wards down. We still got a Viking boat ready to go, but the rest of the heroic are down and already being used here by the Taquitos. The Hurricane is so big, and CT's perfect
so good
with the mosh. Gets all those Vikings going, and 2 of them now dead in the water. It did get interrupted, was not the full duration, but this will now be the keep, and Evil Genius is still maintaining a very solid lead here at the late game.
Oh, a good lunar flare, almost taking down Kawhi, but a strong trigger mechanism right there from LZ Gamer using the shield to keep him alive. I thought he might have gone down there. So a 2-for-0 exchange going for Evil Geniuses, and once again, Evil Geniuses is doing what they're doing. That Ranger Owl almost showing some MLG no-scope plays right there. That would have been hilarious if it hit all 4 of them. Might have actually killed Idra if it did. But the level 20 talents was the savior for Evil Geniuses there, because finally Rising Taquitos had a great initiation on to Idra's Jaina, but due to that Bolt of Storm being in play, he was able to cleanly get away. Speaking of not being able to cleanly get away, Mudbutt unfortunately is feeling a little swampy right now, and he is going to get taken out.
Yeah, now, why did they actually get that kill? The big thing is that Mutalisk that was floating around, actually, I'm 100% sure that gives you vision. Because it does, yeah. It's a flying unit. And she was just kind of chilling there like, yeah, they don't see me. That Mutalisk did. And that's why we saw that huge collapse. There were so many pings going down on the map as well. And, that's something that I've been watching Faye actually doing all match. You can see me sometimes zooming in on some of these mutas. She just puts them in places for scouting purposes, because they don't go away. They don't have a target, but they don't go away. And she was actually, Cigar was banned out first week because of this quote-unquote bug, but now it just seems to be kind of more of the accepted play for the Muta. So it's a very interesting use of mechanics there.
I like that a lot. That's so good. I didn't know that was a thing, and now that I know it's a thing, that's like, I actually want to go and play Cigar now. That is so awesome. Oh man, are we going to see a Symbiote Gaming here? Are we going to see an SMG? Nope, they were thinking about it. You could tell they had the party pushing bottom lane with the bottom lane pushing out, but now they are going to catch Rising Taquitos completely out of position. They are, oh man, that was just a very strong rotation. Very, very crisp. Going up there, taking out Rhaegar. And now another Dragon Knight. They're going to fall back to these dragons. And still, Rising Taquitos is quite a bit of a distance away from level 20. They're going to get it here sooner rather than later, but that half a level at level 19 is a substantial amount of experience that they need to soak. Knowing that they need to soak with 2 of the 3 lanes being pushed in, this once again is going to allow Evil Geniuses to take a dragon completely untested. This is a 20-minute dragon. Nothing to shake a stick at here, Sean.
We haven't had a single dragon. In fact, this entire game has been the Taquitos on the back foot since the get-go. I mean, the 4-man roams defeating out the Vikings, getting multiple kills with that Jaina early game damage rotations. And 20 minutes in, they're just going to go straight for core because there's really nothing left to stop here. If you have to really pinpoint it to some of the mistakes that the Taquitos have been making, it's that Hans on their Rhaegar has been like the first kill in multiple team fights. And he is, he's not solo healing, but he is the only big healer on that team. And we've said this before. I mean, when you have a Rhaegar solo healing, statistically, you're not going to win with that. And considering he's been dying again and again and again, he's just been on the front lines for some reason. He has just dropped so much for that team, and a lot of that led to just snowball mechanics for EG. So things to think about.
I felt like what really went wrong, there was 2 big things that went wrong at different phases of the game for Rising Taquitos. Not to take away from Evil Geniuses, they played phenomenally and exceptional. But they're in the early game, and we talked about it in the early game, the 4-man wave clear rotation just completely negated the Lost Viking factors in the early game and what the Lost Vikings need to do in order to establish themselves into a good mid game. They completely negated that because their wave clear was phenomenal. A Jaina and a Tassadar, that's an insane amount of wave clear. You're going to disintegrate that creep in a matter of seconds. So in the early game, they did that to mitigate the Lost Vikings factor. And from there, you just got an advantage by being ahead against a hero that when is behind is just borderline useless. And then they got themselves in the late game advantage, the mid to the late game. Rising Taquitos needed to have solid initiations with their Tyrael. They never really found a really good one that was well coordinated with a Judgment followed up by a Lunar Flare, specifically onto the Jaina, because that's obviously the premier choice for initiation. Jaina's the big counter Achilles heel is hard initiation. They weren't ever able to find it, and when they finally were able to find good initiations at the later part of that game, Jaina had Vault. I mentioned it before in the second to last team fight, or I believe the second to last team fight. Jaina, I thought, was going to be going down because finally a Judgment into what was going to be a Lunar Flare was dropped on top of Jaina, and she was at maybe a third HP. That Lunar Flare would have taken her out. Bolted away. Jaina was alive. Gassed out of the tank for Rising Taquitos. End of the game.
Yeah. So Taquitos definitely still have a little bit of work when it comes to some of their drafts and Evil Geniuses. You know, even with those Vikings, I mean, they left them there. There was no Illidan, there was no Sergeant Hammer, but the combo just came together so very nice, nice and firm for them. And you know, hey, they get their victory. They move on to the semis here of Cup number 13. Speaking of the semis, take a quick look. Evil Geniuses to face off against either Cloud9 Vortex or the Happy Fairy Dragons from Canada, would you believe? And it still looks like Magikarp and X Gamers are still going at it, and You Forced My Hand and Barrel Boys are the other quarters. When we return, one of these two matchups will be on deck for us. And guys, thank you all so much for joining us today. Yes. We've had a little bit of a numbers rise, and it's really fun to see not only the biggest NA Go4Heroes to date, but now we're getting a little bit more viewership into it. I guess the European stuff is starting to show off. But guys, you are welcome. Keep the chat, clean and safe and all that. And when we return, semifinals, the FourCourt Gucci, we will see you in a few.